Welcome to Terror Trek, r/AskReddit, people who've encountered the paranormal. What did you experience? Posted by user Lorraine Gatang. Comment by Western Red. When I was in college, I lived in a house with 3 other girls. I was watching TV in the morning, like a real tube TV, and all of a sudden the screen slowly faded dark and I saw the reflection of a guy walking towards me from behind. It lasted a second or two, then the TV was on back to normal. There was no one there, but it was weird, and I wasn't really scared. I just didn't think of it and left for class. A week later, I was out drinking with some of my roommates. One of them said she had the weirdest experience. When she was waking up, she saw an older man sitting in the chair in her room. It only lasted a second that she saw him. When I told her what happened to me, we were a little freaked. Third roommate was convinced it was her dad who had passed recently. Nothing else ever happened again. Comment by Lorraine Gatang. I grew up in a haunted house till I was 9. When I was a child, my mother told me I would walk to the boy in the mirror. Apparently he drowned in the canal in our backyard and wanted me as a friend. So one morning my mother can't find me anywhere. Both front door and back door still had the chain lock on, so I had to be in the house. After looking for 10 minutes, she hears a knock on the front door. It was a little 3-year-old me soaking wet. I'd been in the canal. My mom asked me what happened and I said the little boy wanted to play in the water. He told me the sliding door was unlocked too, so off we went. It was behind my dad's computer headquarters. He was fixing the computer the day before while I was out with mom and forgot to lock the door. I told my mom that he wanted to go out deeper, but I was scared, so I came home. Comment by Stephen Conrad. Not spooky paranormal, but I have yet to explain it. I was in the 8th grade at a table with a group of friends. We were all trying to send each other messages telepathically. Mostly, I'd just stare at them, thinking about the answer as hard as I could, straight-faced. Easy stuff, like, what color am I thinking of? Or, what number am I thinking of between 1 and 20? Stuff like that. Mostly, the results were random, but one particular friend and I started getting really accurate, like 80 to 90%. So we started asking broader questions like a number between 1 and 50, or a letter from the alphabet. After 5 to 6 successful attempts in a row, I asked, okay, one more. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100, but I didn't pick a number. I picked the letter A and just stared. Thinking about the letter intently, we stared face to face for about 10 seconds, when all of a sudden he tilted his head, looked surprisingly confused, squinted his eyes and muttered, A? Still can't figure it out. Edit. It was the only time I broke the parameters of the question. If I said a number, it was always a number up to that point, so it wasn't just a lucky guess. Comment by Mediocre Jamie. When I was 14, my parents left me alone one night so they could go play bingo at the town hall. I was living in Ireland at the time, and we are no strangers to the paranormal. I was sat on my bed, doing a school project which was needed the next day, and I hadn't slept or even took a nap, so I was exhausted. Needing something to keep me awake, I went downstairs to get some coffee, which my mother allowed me to have since she knew my insomnia was that bad that staying awake after not getting any sleep the night before was a struggle. When I came into the kitchen, someone was there, standing and staring out the window. I didn't say anything, just stared at them. It was a woman upon closer inspection. She was holding something in her arms. I couldn't quite see what it was until she turned around. She was crying and a baby was in her arms and didn't look to be alive. I was frightened out of my life since I was a little wimp back then, and I sprinted away back to my room. Since that day, I've never really thought that much on it, and have blamed it on possible hallucinations from sleep deprivation. Comment by Pink Llamas 15. I have 2 stories. The first. When I was in high school, I attended a sleepover with 3 of my friends. It turned real weird real quick. 2 of my friends were very spiritual, not to be confused with religious. I was sitting on a couch my friend had in her room when my other friend, we will call her Amelia, started acting really strangely. She refused to acknowledge when someone was speaking to her. She just kept staring at the empty space next to me on the couch. I ended up going outside for a cigarette by myself and Amelia followed me. I asked her why she was acting so fucking weird, and when she told me, I swear I blacked out for a second. A little backstory before I continue. My mom passed away when I was 10 from cancer. She had divorced my dad when I was 3 and met my stepfather on an online dating site. We lived in a different country to him, and at the time he flew over to meet us. We ended up after a year or so moving to his country, and one morning my mom announced that she was pregnant. My sister and I were very excited, obviously, but a few weeks later she had a miscarriage. It was too early to tell the gender, but my mom was adamant she was having a boy. When my stepdad was under the age of 5, he had blonde hair and ringlets almost. This is relevant, I promise. Now, I'm outside with Amelia and she proceeds to tell me there was a woman and a little boy sitting next to me on the couch. Now at this point she knows my mom died, but knew nothing of the miscarriage or anything like that. She told me that the boy would have been no older than 5. I had just turned 14 at the time, so the timeline checks out. With blonde ringlets and blue eyes. No one in my family has blue eyes. We all have brown or hazel. My stepdad has blue eyes. She had also never met my stepdad, but even if she had, who pays attention to the color of someone's eyes? Now by this point, I'm sweating and it's freezing cold outside. I can feel my insides turning to liquid. I still haven't said anything at this point. I couldn't remember how to form words. Then she said the weirdest thing. She reckons she never heard voices or sounds, but she knew their names. Now I may have mentioned Mom's name once or twice, but the baby never had a name. When I went home the next day, I asked my stepdad if he or my mom had any names picked out for the baby, and he said they never picked one for a girl because Mom was so sure she was having a boy, and the boy's name they picked was the name Amelia had said the little boy's was. I could never in 1,000 years guess the name of my unborn half-brother, half-sister, or told it to anyone because I didn't know what it was. The thing that cemented the presence of spirits for me, as if this wasn't enough, was Amelia had come over to my house one day after school, quite a while after this sleepover. My stepdad was home from work early and I'd never really used his name before, always referring to him as my stepdad. She introduced herself but called him by the baby's name without any indication that that was or was not his name. Then about an hour later she finds a random photo of my mom lying on my desk. No indication that that's my mom. Could have been any random family member. Amelia had never seen a picture of my mother, and I don't resemble her very much, but she exclaims, "Oh, Mom's name. Looks better with purple hair than she did with brown hair." Second story. The second one is much shorter. I was lying on my stomach on my bed one day scrolling through old photos on Facebook when someone put their hand on my back. The pressure was so real it was incredible. I jerked my head to see who was there, but my room was empty. Then I remembered I was home alone. Needless to say, I went to stay with a friend that day until someone came home. Comment by some random cheetah. One day, I was about 9 years old when I woke up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason in the dark. I turned to my side and saw a floating figure just off of my bed. He had wide open eyes. I blinked my eyes to clear up my vision and he was gone. My second sighting of him was when I was close to my 10th birthday and I was sleeping. When I woke up again and saw him sitting on the floor, I closed my eyes in fear and he was gone. Comment by Lonely Poop Bandit. This was a couple of years ago. Lived with Mom in a tiny house that was built sometime in the early 1900s. Remember hearing footsteps, knocks on the walls, and muttering in the room next to me occasionally when I'm home alone. My brother lived there before I moved in. He and Mom once woke up in the middle of the night because the front door was open. Neither of them had been outside and Mom insisted that she had locked the door before going to bed. There was no one else in the house and there were no signs of anyone breaking in. Talked to the landlord about it and she said, "Don't worry about it. That's just the original owner. He likes to check up on the place from time to time. He was a very kind man." Stopped being bothered by it after that. Always felt kinda awkward to masturbate though. Thank you guys for checking out Terror Trek. If you liked it, please leave a like or a comment. Remember to subscribe for more videos like this and creepypastas. Have a good day.